From the worldwide headquarters of More Sports and Les Levine on a Wednesday night. Good evening, everyone. Welcome once again to More Sports and Les Levine into our 23rd consecutive year, and of course seen exclusively on cleveland.com. Ricky Volante is with us, and he's going to either be a very wealthy man or he's going to be credited as being one of those wackos who had a great idea. And what is your idea?
Well, first off, thanks for having me, Les.
My pleasure.
So the Historical Basketball League, the HBL, we are striving to become the premier global destination for college basketball players.
Right. Tell me what that means.
So what we are doing is we're eliminating the false choice that currently exists, which is either you take your free education with the NCAA
Right.
and play college basketball in their system.
And allegedly don't take money.
Right. Or you go into either the G League, but you get no education, or you go overseas and then you get no education.
Right.
So, and then eventually, after your 1 year or up to 4 years, enter the NBA. For us, that's a significant issue for the basketball players because what's happening is they, A, are not getting compensated if they go into the NCAA, and B, not getting a real education.
Right.
So what we want to do is create a destination that will provide them all of those things so that they don't have to make that choice.
All right, so what are we talking about? A league with teams from all over the country?
Correct. So we have released a list of 20 cities ranging all across the country. The goal is to narrow that down to 12. And then in the summer of 2020, those 12 teams.
Which is not too far away.
Right, about less than 18 months now.
First come, first serve, or are you trying to get destinations of half the from west side of the Mississippi to the east side of the Mississippi?
So the actual locations and the breakdown between east and west isn't as big for us because every team is going to play a home and home against each other. So
Okay.
the only reason that east versus west will really matter is for playoff seeding. So there will be 6 and 6.
Right, so what are you talking
flexible.
about? A schedule of 24 games or whatever that number turns out
22,
to be?
yeah.
22 games. You're playing them twice. So would it be, for travel purposes, would it be, no, it wouldn't, I was going to say, would it be the same team back and forth, but that's not the case either.
No, it would replicate in some ways the NBA.
Right.
There would be certain trips where, if you go to the West Coast, our California or Bay Area team, you might also play the Seattle team before you come back.
You're talking about these guys being paid, and you're not talking about being paid $50 a game.
No. We're talking
What are you talking about?
$50,000 to $150,000 per season, plus the ability to monetize social media channels, sign endorsement agreements, and then obviously the scholarship.
All right, obviously they would lose their NCAA scholarships and the ability to play there.
Correct.
Okay, so where are you getting the money from? You're going to pay $100,000, $150,000 to 10. How many on a roster?
We're looking at 12 players per roster, so in season 1, 144 players. And to answer your first question there as far as the money goes,
yeah.
In terms of coaches and player salaries, you're looking at about 20 to 30 million per season, depending on
for the total league to operate.
Right. And so our revenue or our money so far is derived from private investors, largely on the West Coast and Silicon Valley. We're now entering the sponsorship, more corporate side of things, raising money that way. And then our team operators. So we're going to have groups similar to the MLS that won't own our teams, but will operate the facilities and the commercial efforts of our teams. Will
there be? You work in Cleveland. You're with Buckley Hall, a noted law firm, right?
Buckley King.
Buckley King. I'm sorry. That's your real job.
Well, this has become my real job, but yes, I certainly do use. I'm a practicing attorney. And I use a lot of what I know from that side of things in helping the league.
What made you and your other people think this can work?
Yeah, so
I think it can work. Those are staggering numbers.
Right. My other co-founder, Andy Schwartz, he's an economist who has developed this niche within college sports, and so he's the non-testifying economic expert in the last 3 major litigations that have gone against the NCAA.
Okay.
And through that, he's developed a very specialized and deep understanding of the economics of college sports. So overall, you're looking at a revenue pie of about $13 billion annually. Specific to college basketball, it's about $3 billion annually. And my legal background and understanding of how to set up and structure both corporations in general, but then also a league, we were the first two to come together and, to your point, maybe be crazy enough to say, let's actually try this.
Nothing personal. I admire the whole thing. The the players who play, they only get 1 year, or they get the 5 you had mentioned earlier?
So the scholarships are fully guaranteed for 5 years. They have eligibility for up to 5 seasons to play in our league. The only eligibility rule is that once you have played in the NBA, you're no longer eligible to play for us.
Okay, so if a 19-year-old or 20-year-old tries to get in or plays in the NBA and it's not working out, this is not a place that he can come to.
Right. Now, if he were to enter the NBA draft, which this past season was the largest eligible pool of players to be selected, they were, obviously there's only 60 picks. So if you enter the draft and you're not picked, you could come back to us.
Where are you going to find your players?
All across the country. David West, who we're going to talk about, I'm sure, at some point, is our Chief Operating Officer, former NBA champion, or current NBA champion, as he likes to remind me. He is overseeing our basketball operations division. He also has one of the top AAU teams in the country, and so has a deep understanding of how the grassroots...
Has it as a coach?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Him and his brother have the Garner Road team down in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
And so through that, he has this expansive network within grassroots basketball.
You do or don't need to be in big cities?
I think we do. Obviously, our sponsors want to have, cities and markets that are appealing from a commercial standpoint, and players like to live in nice cities that have things to do in them. So, yeah.
How will they be drafted? Will you have your own draft? It's open season? What is it?
So we are a single entity. We employ all of the players. We pay all of the players, the HBL as opposed to the individual teams.
Right. And
so David will oversee recruitment for all 12 teams. There won't be a draft. So the player would ultimately...
Will you try to make it even? Or,
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, or it could have been by locality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so we are not limiting it to, so if you're a great player from Hampton Roads, you could still go play on the West Coast if you wanted to.
Okay, that's because you'll even off the team as far as talent is concerned.
Right.
That way. All right, so to get that kind of money, you need the corporate sponsors, you need places to play.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying, as of now, the thought is there will be a Cleveland franchise?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to guess you can't play at the Q. Just a guess.
We could. But
unless the
NBA
do you want the NBA to sponsor this?
I don't know that they'll ever sponsor us, but we are working on developing a relationship there so that there's no issue with our players being able to enter the NBA system.
So theoretically, you could play at the Q, somebody else could play at some other facility, but is that what you'll aim for in the beginning? Not
at the beginning. We're targeting venues that are more like 5, 6, maybe 8,000 seats, just because we don't want to have empty arenas or run the risk of having empty arenas or having to black out the upper bowl.
You think there's going to be TV?
Yes, that is going to be the main driving factor for us, though we're probably going to be streaming from day one as opposed to going your traditional broadcast route.
Okay, let's take a look at MS and LL headlines for the day. Brought to you by Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. The Cavs in that other league, the NBA, they're in Portland tonight. They're going for their second in a row after the win over the Los Angeles Lakers. Tate Martell of Ohio State is transferring to Miami. Now, he picked, let's see, Miami or North Dakota? I'm taking Miami. So is Tate Martell. Bob Costas gone from NBC after 40 years. How about that? Had 3 years left on his contract. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Ricky Volante is here. He is the head of the historical basketball league, and you're going to hear a lot more about it over the coming months. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to call us at 216-575-0403. You can also email us during the show. That would be at reallesslevine@gmail.com, reallesslevine@gmail.com. You see it at the bottom of your screen. You can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine with new content posted each and every day. We ask you a question, you answer it, and it gets right here on cleveland.com. More Sports and Les Levine continues exclusively on cleveland.com.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I had bad credit, so I wasn't able to get a bank account or a credit card.
My life is so busy, I don't have time to be standing in line to cash a check.
That's why we created the NetsBand Prepaid MasterCard. It puts you in control of managing your money.
I can get my money up to 2 days earlier than everybody else. I don't have to wait till the end of the week to get paid.
Order now at no cost and get paid up to 2 days faster.
Call 1-800-644-0772.
Call now and you can choose your card design.
Birthdays for today. There you see Blackjack McDowell pitching for the Indians. Didn't pitch too long, but he had a good rock group at the time. Dizzy Dean, 1910. Mardi Gras, born in New Orleans. Albert Pujols, Joe Flacco, and Mark Trumbo, all born on this date, the 16th of January. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Ricky Volante is here. He is one of the upfront guys putting together the historical basketball league. Where does historical come from?
So
you haven't started yet.
Yeah. So actually, it references the originations of college sports. So there was a commission that was formed in the early 1920s to go and assess which college campuses were paying their players.
1920?
In the mid-1920s.
Wow.
And so in 1929, they surveyed 112 universities, and they found that 81 of them were paying their players. And so what we are doing is we are resetting college sports to what it historically was, as opposed to
I said they were paying players in the 20s, so it's time to pay them in these the next 20s.
Yes.
This comes, you being here comes at an interesting time. We were talking before the show about Jim Harbaugh and what he did, offered a 7th grader. If you haven't heard, check it out on Google or Bluetooth or whatever. He's offered him a scholarship. I don't know if it's binding. I can't imagine it would be binding on either side.
So if he were to sign his national letter of intent, at that point it would be on him, on the player.
If he's 13?
Unfortunately.
That doesn't seem right.
Most of what the NCAA does isn't.
You guys mad at the NCAA or?
It's not so much that we're mad at them.
Are they roadblocking you?
No, actually. So going back to my background on the legal side and what Andy's done with facing off with them on the economic side of things, there's very little they can do to stop what we're doing. So honestly, we don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about the NCAA on a daily basis. Are
you going to hire instructional coaches or name coaches, or what are you looking for?
So
or does it depend?
Yeah, we're looking at a range. There are assistant coaches that are in the current system that I think are deserving of a head coach shot that are never going to get it. There are guys that are former NBA coaches sitting at home right now that may not have another shot in the NBA or the NCAA, so we would be looking at that. But then also up-and-coming coaches. The NBA has a coaching program that is putting out a lot of great players, or a lot of great coaches right now that happen to be former players.
What will sell here to the public or to the sponsors or whoever? Is it a name coach? Is it a name player? They can't be. There's no LeBron James out there that I know of.
So there are a few guys in the class of 2020 that have gotten LeBron James type comparisons. We're very fortunate that this high school graduating class of 2020 is one of the best recruiting classes in years. And so, one, we have to have the elite talent. If you don't have the best players, quite frankly, our system isn't going to garner the type of interest it will need to be successful in the long run.
Won't the best players, until you show what you can do or be, won't they sign up for a college?
Well, so you would be surprised by that. One, David, obviously being who he is on the basketball side of things, 15-year guy, went to Xavier here in Ohio for 4 years, two-time NBA champion. What he has in terms of the understanding of what it takes to be successful in the NBA versus even Coach Krzyzewski or Calipari or Roy Williams, what David
Different
has.
league.
Yeah, none of those guys actually ever played in the NBA.
Right.
And you could argue that in a lot of ways there are major programs out there stunting the growth of players because they are strictly focused on winning at the college level,
right,
as opposed to preparing them for the NBA, which, as we all know, has changed leaps and bounds even over the last couple of years, thanks to teams like the Rockets and the Warriors.
Sure. I'm bouncing back and forth. For example, let's say you get a Cleveland team. Would it be the Cleveland somethings or the Cleveland sponsorship team? What'll be the name of the team?
So it could be either one.
Is that a good question, by the way?
Yeah. No, it could be either one. If there were a local company or a corporation that was in the area that wanted to try to take on the naming rights, it would need to make sense. So I can't think of one off the top of my head in Cleveland. But so Atlanta's one of our other cities. So I think of like Delta Airlines.
Okay.
The Atlanta Deltas could be a team name. But our plan right now is for us, in conjunction with our team operators, to develop the team name and team logo, and then we would have a jersey sponsor.
Okay, how do you find the players?
So the players are actually pretty easy to find.
It sounds good to them not having to go to college.
Well, so they still do have to go to college, and I think that is a good point to clarify. So for us, they accept our offer to play for us, but part of their employment, they are required to still be a college student. So through our scholarship, they will apply to a university or program in the area that they play, and it will be a requirement of employment for them to attend that university. So,
and who's paying the tuition and room and board and all that?
That would be the HBL and our HBL Foundation.
Okay, so for example, if there's a player in Cleveland, would you help him get into Kent State or Akron U or Cleveland State?
Exactly. So they would inform us that they wanted to play for the Cleveland team. We would offer them a contract based off of what we think their value is in that $50,000 to $150,000 range.
Right.
Once that's accepted, then our foundation would sit down with the player, identify a list of schools in that area that they're willing to attend or want to attend, help them apply to those. So if it was Cleveland, exactly like you said, CSU, Kent State, Akron, Baldwin Wallace, you name it.
Right.
Once they're accepted to that school, then the foundation begins paying for their room, tuition, and board.
I'm only using this as an example. Cleveland State, the players won't be able to use not Woodling Gym, but the Convocation Center as a place to work out, as a place to practice. Are they going to be shunned by the coaches and the players currently with them? I'm just using Cleveland State as an example.
Right. And as a graduate of their graduate program, not to say anything bad about the institution, but there's a possibility the athletic department may have some animosity with one of our players. But Cleveland State, as a university, I would like to think would realize that
gladly have you.
Exactly. You're getting a full-paying student that might very well be a millionaire one day that might be willing to donate back to your school because they attended there. So I would like to think that as any normal student on campus, non-athlete student, that they would welcome them with open arms.
Let's go to the phones. You got a good basketball fan standing by, BP and Pepper Pike. Hello, BP.
Hello, guys. How are you doing tonight?
Good. Ricky Volante is with us. Go ahead.
Yes. I just wanted to know what does Ricky think of the current state of the Cleveland Cavaliers?
Having some relationships there with the organization and with some of the players, I think everyone knew that this was going to be a rebuilding year. So I'm trying to immerse myself in watching the growth of our young players this season.
Bad question, BP.
Bad question?
Bad question.
Oh, okay. Well,
no, as a basketball fan, what do you think? These are high school age kids or just getting out of high school, passing up scholarships for the NCAA teams and starting their own league for which there's no question they're getting paid for it and getting paid pretty handsomely for a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. I just was curious what he thought of the Cavs rebuild situation. But.
Okay. All right, we'll talk to you soon, BP. Thanks so much. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. So you got, besides David West, you have talent scouts projected here to even up the teams and just to see what you're putting on the floor.
Yeah, so we'll function in a lot of ways like all of the traditional college powerhouses that are out there in terms of we'll have our staff We'll have regional scouting directors. We'll identify talent early. We'll be recruiting multiple classes at the same time. So in a lot of ways, we'll function exactly like Duke or Kentucky or UNC.
All right, let's take two players here, player A and player B, both equal talent. One goes to your league, one goes to the traditional way of being drafted and going to the NBA. The guy that went to your league finishes the 1 year. He still has 4 more years that he could play.
Correct.
And let's say you signed him first year for $100,000. Can he get a raise, or is that each year everything's negotiable each year?
Yeah, he could definitely go up. Particularly like to take David as an example.
Right.
He was 99th ranked prospect coming out of North Carolina, not nationally, but in his state.
Right.
And ended up being AP Player of the Year by his senior year.
Right. You
Perfect
never know.
Example of a guy.
So they will grow within your league. And so then player B goes on to Duke or North Carolina or someplace, theoretically doesn't receive any stipend for that. And then all of a sudden he can play one and done, right?
Correct.
Or he could play 4 years.
Correct.
Okay, so and your guy can play 4 years over a 5-year period.
5 years, actually.
Or 5 years.
Yeah.
And that team holds the contract on him. In other words, if he plays for the Cleveland team first year and wants to stay in the league, can he get traded? Can he demand to play in Cleveland? What can he do?
So he would.
Or don't you know that yet?
We would not have trades. However, a player could transfer to another city.
Okay.
And that is not something that we would block.
Okay, let's take a look at some things we put up here to talk about the Historical Basketball League. All right, the game's going to be played in the summer starting 2020. Athletes can receive a 5-year scholarship. Tell me, go ahead and repeat what that means.
So it's fully guaranteed. If that one-and-done player were to leave for the NBA, the remaining 4 years of their scholarship stays.
Stays. Okay. Individual endorsement opportunities. What does that mean?
So they would have the ability to sign with an agent, and if they want to sign a shoe deal, drink deal, whatever company or category.
There's no payback to you on that?
No.
They're on their own or on their agent's own?
Right.
I'm not sure I see a downside to this. I mean, not every kid who plays at Duke, well, Duke may be a different example, but not every kid that plays in NCAA wants to play in the NCAA.
That's correct.
I mean, one thing you sell is, if you're an NCAA team or school, you're selling the school, the atmosphere, all the social stuff that goes in. You can still do that.
Right.
And you have a few bucks in your pocket.
Right. Exactly. One of the examples we always use is taking Aaron Kraft, who's amazing at Ohio State.
Right.
But his odds of making it into the NBA were never high, and he hasn't been able to do so. He was at Ohio State and gave Ohio State 4 great years and walks away with only a degree, whereas if that player were to come in and play for the HBL,
right,
he'd walk away with a degree and potentially...
Just quickly before we take a break, if one of the players signs for $100,000, how does he try to get more money the next year?
He would just need to play well.
And but everything is a 1-year deal, and
so it's basically an option period for each agreement.
All right, Ricky Volante is here with the Historical Basketball League. We'll talk more about that. If you have any questions, if you think it's a pipe dream or you think it's reality, let us know. 216-575-0403. Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. They've got the excitement of live harness racing Monday through Wednesday, as well as Saturday evenings with the 6 p.m. post time. Open early every day at noon for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. Free handicapping contests all weekend long, including the popular Road to the Derby contest on Saturdays, beginning this Saturday. It's free admission, free parking every day. That's at Northfield Park. Ricky and I return in a moment right here on cleveland.com exclusively.
Your basement is damp, dirty, and not somewhere you want to spend time. Let Naturestone Flooring transform your basement into a true extension of your home. Naturestone's proprietary hydrostatic ports allow water to simply evaporate, so no mold or mildew. Plus, it has a higher insulation rating than carpet and is warmer than linoleum, vinyl, wood, or tile.
Schedule your free in-home estimate easily online today and get up to 50% off.
Naturestone is the affordable basement floor solution that beautifies your home. Naturestone, the only concrete solution.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. straight from Mama's kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Quickie, maybe you could help me this. How come in the NBA there's a three-point line, but slam dunks are not worth just 1 point? I've always said that you're going to take the slam dunk. You know, there was a time you couldn't slam dunk him when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Alcindor was in college. It was you couldn't dunk the ball. Yeah. That didn't seem fair. But then again, getting 2 points for that didn't seem fair either. Ricky Volante is here. He is one of the heads of the Historical Basketball League, the HBL. It's looking to start play. It's summer of 2020. Tell me, we've been talking about the players and coaches and whatever and the behind the scenes. Tell me what the game experience, what the fan experience in game. Have you looked at that, or do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to try to have venues that are somewhere between 4,000 and 8,000 or so seats.
Okay.
The reasoning behind that is we want to sell out right at the onset, so that we can develop a really great atmosphere at all.
You don't want
games.
People to think the tickets are that easy to come by.
Right. And, from the streaming and the broadcast angle, the worst thing in the world is empty seats.
Right.
So
no, the worst thing in the world is 40-point losses.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But then the home team.
Yeah, so we are trying our best to create, right at the onset, a vibrant, great experience. And something that you kind of touched on earlier, how are you going to bring in these fans initially? Are they watching the individuals? Right. Are they watching the teams? Well, I think that at the beginning, you're going to have basketball fans that just want to see the best college basketball talent. I think that's your first people that come in. The second group of people are going to understand socially and culturally what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish in terms of pushing the NCAA to the side as the elite option. So you're going to have people that maybe are not traditional sports fans that are going to want to support and come to games just to be a part of the experience. And then third, I think the most interesting thing is Zion Williamson at Duke. So I guess going back to the Cavs question, who could be a Cav next year? Hopefully.
Then the whole world changes again.
Yeah. So Zion in his senior year in high school, his YouTube channel had more views than all of Duke's basketball program in the same year.
There's something wrong with that, but maybe not.
So what you're seeing more and more with younger consumers, ages 14 to 30, they get more wrapped up in the individual stories of athletes
Sure.
as opposed to putting value in either institutions or the teams.
Yeah, and David Stern did this with the NBA where they started promoting players rather than teams.
Right. Exactly.
So that's the same theory here?
Yeah, to start with, and that's where it goes back to, we have to have elite talent. If we have elite players, we can build our initial stories around them, build fan bases around them, and then over time, I think people are going to come to recognize the individual teams and the markets that we're in and hopefully start to support those teams.
All right, you gave some staggering numbers on expenses and all that stuff. You probably have, if you have 12 players and 2 coaches, maybe 3, a training staff, whatever else you have, PR people. Mm-hmm. It's going to run into a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're ready.
We are. The overall nest egg that we've always said we needed to attain was at a minimum $40 million, but reaching close.
First year or first tip?
We would like to have that comfortably. We would like to have that prior to the first tip in terms of sponsorships and then investment into the league,
right,
so that we can be secure and comforted in the fact that our players will have something for at least 2 years.
All right, so you're talking about 22 games a year. You're talking about probably 20 people in the travel party or more.
Mm-hmm.
You're not shaking when I mention that.
No, I mean, fortunately, there again, between college sports and professional sports, there are both companies and organizations that plan out all of those things for you and handle it for you.
Right.
But then also, if the league is ultimately as successful as we think it can be, to flip it again to talk about the revenue side, college basketball, the pie is about $3 billion annually, and I have a strong feeling that if you can divert the elite talent to our system away from the NCAA system,
right,
a considerable amount of that money is going to be diverted with it. And so with that, we hope to develop, great venues that we will own, as well as having all of the transportation mechanisms in place that we control all of it.
All right, so one of it is airplanes. I mean, you envision flying to games? I
Yes,
mean, you have to
yeah.
if you have West Coast teams.
And that's part of why, one of the reasons why we're having our games during the summer is because with the way that our teams are going to be spread out, there will be, more similar to an NBA team, week or more at a time where you're on the road.
What do you envision, a 6-game road trip, 10-game road trip?
Maybe not a 10-game road trip, but for, over the course of the summer, so the season will cover about 12 weeks, having 22 games, so it'll be about 2 games a week. Trying to match it up so that, again, if you're an East Coast team and you're going to the
right,
West Coast, you're hitting at least a couple of the teams before you come back. So you could be on the road for a week or so.
Let's go to John, who's in Mayfield Heights. John, good evening. Ricky Volante is with us. Go ahead.
Quick question. Do you have any sense of what you're thinking about the ticket price? And as it relates to your business model, do the overall attendance figures and the revenue derived from that, is that critical or to your success, or are you looking more for the corporate sponsorship really to cover that?
Yeah, so ticket prices, I was just saying to Les actually during the last break, are going to look closer to minor league sports than your professional sports team. So we want it to be affordable for families, affordable especially for the families of our players to attend the games, number one. As far as the critical nature of that ticket revenue, I don't envision it being critical to the overall league success. Again, with our smaller venues, it's not going to be a huge revenue maker. But it contributes to the overall atmosphere, and the better atmosphere we have at our games, I would like to think the more people are going to watch those games from the stream or the broadcast. So the critical aspect is the overall eyeballs that are watching our games on that stream. But again, we want to have a great atmosphere and have it accessible and affordable for families.
Anything else,
okay.
John?
No. Good luck, and I hope it works out.
Thank you very much,
Terrific.
John.
Thank you very much. Facebook.com, one way to find us here at cleveland.com. And you can follow us on Facebook with new questions and new comments posted each and every day. That's at facebook.com, More Sports and Les Levine, which continues in a moment exclusively on cleveland.com.
Smile.
No matter how well you provide for your family today, if you don't have life insurance, their future may be at risk. Why not help guarantee those you love $250,000 or more with life insurance through AIG Direct? Less than $14 a month buys a 40-year-old man a $250,000 term life policy. That's up to 3 times what you can get from other companies for the same price. Make the future more secure for those you love.
Call 1-800-723-9758.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant. Whatever it takes.
It takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling to bring the heat when things get chilly. Find us at 440-449-HEAT.
Let's check out this date in sports history. Mickey Mantle, speaking of money, Mickey Mantle was declared the highest paid player in the history of baseball. That in 1961, $75,000 a year. Mickey Mantle. Wow. The Mick. Ricky Volante is with us. We're talking the new historical basketball league. And it's interesting. I don't think I'm giving away a secret. You said you've been working on this at this point 3 years, which is astounding.
Yes, yeah. Andy and I very quietly worked on this for quite some time. We did things, the quote-unquote right way in terms of confidentiality agreements, NDAs, all that, being very strategic in who we showed it to. We didn't want anybody to take the idea sort of thing. And then we reached a point where we finally said, let's just see what happens. Let's just put it out there. And Vice Sports beginning of last summer wrote an article about us. And it was very well received, and it brought our first round of investors. So,
all right, a couple of things as far as the competition involved. Number one, you're going to use NBA rules or college rules?
NBA rules. So, shot clock,
24-second shot clock, quarters.
NBA three-point line, yeah.
Right, okay. And what about playoffs or anything, or does the regular season champ become the first champ?
So we are going to have a playoff system, which is going to play out over Labor Day weekend. We are going back and forth. I think we're probably going to have 6 teams, 3 from each conference, qualify for the playoffs, with the 1 and 2 seeds getting a bye.
You going to make up stuff as you go along? I'm serious. You're going to Game 6, you say, oh yeah, we didn't think of that.
Yeah, I certainly hope not. I think that between David and myself and the rest of our management team, that we will hopefully remember everything.
Right.
The other element we haven't talked about, actually, so we're also going to do an all-star tournament or tour that we're going to take 1 or 2 teams of the best players from the league each year, and we're going to take them to Asia and Europe during winter break.
Wow.
So we didn't want to pull them out of class, so we looked at the schedule to figure out when this could work. Noticed that for the most part, winter breaks overlap with all universities, and so we're going to take one to 2 of our best teams or teams of players.
You have now entered the politically correct part of the show. Mm-hmm. That is, will females be included?
So playing side, or
yes.
So from a coaching and administrative side, absolutely. We're actually looking at female operators already. We're hoping to have 1 or 2 head coaches that are female in the league to start with, as well as administrators within the league. On the playing side, this is a men's basketball league to start with. However, the plan is that if this model is successful, we are going to expand over and do a women's basketball league as well.
216-575-0403 if you'd like to get in, talk to Ricky Volante about this. We asked a Facebook question for you. That question of the day was, well, here it is. How do you feel about the Browns' new coaching staff? We'll take a look at some of the responses that you had. Len Gold says, I've read most of the backgrounds of them, and they have great backgrounds and successful coaches, which should be translating to wins. Continue on to Michael Galundia, who says winning will tell the story. Like get that win in any league. Glenn Berger says, I really like the new assistant coaches. James Campen is highly regarded as an offensive line coach. Todd Monken should help the passing game. That's what we have tonight. As far as, are you a Browns fan, by the way?
I am.
You're just saying that.
No, I through and through. I'm very excited about the coaching staff.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long time.
Yeah, 20 years.
I can say without a doubt it's an exciting time to be a Browns fan.
216-575-0403. Speaking of that, Jarvis Landry got some news today that he's going to be added to the Pro Bowl. They must have run out of people. Anybody available on that week? I'm just kidding. It's still a good honor. And had a pretty good year. Jarvis Landry, 81 receptions. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Are you running into stumbling blocks that you haven't considered before? I mean, you have enough time to get them out of the way.
For a little while, there was the main criticism that between myself, Andy, Keith Sparks, Mecco Karake, and the rest of our management team that we didn't have a basketball person. And so at the beginning of this past year, we had set out a short list of people that we thought could come in and be that person.
Right.
I may or may not have started stalking David West on social media because he was always at the top of my list. It took about 7 minutes after he announced his retirement that we were reaching out through the appropriate channels to get to him. And we're very fortunate that he believed in the mission. He actually just said a couple weeks ago that he wants to be on the right side of history, and that's why he joined us. And so now that we have him...
Is he the only paid employee right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that was our biggest criticism that was coming in from outside, was who's the basketball person, and now that question has been answered emphatically.
Well, that's a pretty good name.
Yeah.
Are you looking to add more?
Yeah, I think so what we're trying to do with our team operators is we're trying to pair at least one current or former NBA guy in each one.
Okay.
So they might just be a part of a larger group, but we want to have them involved. So we want to do that for a few reasons. We want our players to have access to NBA players, both just as a general sounding board, but also we want there to be a sexiness factor in going to certain cities, because you'll get access to, whoever that player is.
About 100 years ago, when the World Hockey Association started, and I did the Cleveland Crusaders World Hockey Association, and their goal was very simple. They went and rated every National Hockey League team to get 1 star. In Cleveland's case, Jerry Cheevers was the best goaltender out there, and they made it their business to get them. If you look at the 1973-74, the World Hockey Association, you'll see one name on every team that even the casual hockey fan knows of. Mm-hmm. That's what they did.
Yeah. So. We're hoping to have talent fairly evenly distributed across the league, and we're hoping to have 1 or 2 really good players at least in each city. There is the possibility that super teams could be formed. But
intentionally or unintentionally?
Unintentionally or intentionally. So, I mean, we're giving the players a lot of freedom to ultimately choose what city they want to play for. And if you have, I'll take like the Hampton Roads area as an example, just because they develop a lot of great basketball players. If 3 or 4 guys, have grown up playing AAU together their whole lives, and they say, we want to go play for the same team together, form a Fab Five or something like that.
Right.
We wouldn't want to stand in the way, because I think it's a good thing for the league to have a team like that. But
I think you'd be better off having stars on a couple of teams as opposed to average teams across the board.
The good thing for us is that between 4 and 5 star prospects, we could fill out pretty much the entire league and not have to go beyond that.
And by the way, you will take international players?
We will. We also have groups, both from a corporate sponsorship standpoint, but also from a team operator standpoint, that are internationally based, that see this as a way to get into the American basketball market.
216-575-0403 is the number to call. Sokolowski's University, and they won the James Beard Foundation Award 3 years ago. Only 5 restaurants in the country get that, and they, to the best of our knowledge, they're the only one in the city of Cleveland that's ever won it. They're Cleveland's oldest owned and operated restaurant since 1923, Mike and Bernie Sokolowski's University Inn. We'll come back in a moment exclusively on cleveland.com.
The concrete in your garage is uneven, cracked, pitted, and just plain ugly. Transform your garage into a welcoming entryway with NatureStone flooring. Reduce tracked-in dirt, eliminate puddling and salt damage. Plus, NatureStone corrects uneven concrete so you don't have to worry about tripping or slipping.
Call or go to naturestone.com to schedule your free in-home estimate today and get up to 50% off.
NatureStone is the affordable garage floor solution that beautifies your home. NatureStone, the only concrete solution.
Introducing LizardCam, the new micro camera that goes anywhere you can't see. With an extra long flexible cable, you can inspect anywhere. The powerful light illuminates even the darkest areas behind your walls. It comes with a hook tip so you can retrieve fallen jewelry down a sink. Plus, it's waterproof, so unclog drains like a pro. Add the mirror tip to find critter hideouts behind the fridge, or the magnetic tip so you can grab loose nuts and bolts that are impossible to reach. Get yours today.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program has been recognizing role model students and teachers since 2007. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Supporting Education. There, you can nominate students in kindergarten through 12th grade as academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as the Teacher of the Month. Every school that participates is eligible for the School of the Year. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
More Sports and Les Levine is now available on cleveland.com. To watch, type in cleveland.com/sports into your browser, then click on the More Sports and Les Levine icon, and the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason is available 24/7 from any computer. You can watch live from 6 to 7 Monday through Friday, or catch taped editions anytime on cleveland.com. Well, you can't have a this date in history without having a this date in Les Levine history. January 16th, 1960. In Little League, Les always used the Louisville Slugger Mickey Mantle 31-inch bat. The Mick got more hits out of his because he was a switch hitter. If we'd evened it off, analytics would tell us today that's not the thing to do. Right. 216-575-0403 is the number to call. Earlier in the show, you mentioned we're talking to Ricky Volante, is the head of the new historical basketball league, which will start play in summer of 2020. You were talking about the foundations and where money is going to go in the community. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so we have the HBL, which is the for-profit side of things, owning the teams, paying the players. But we also have a nonprofit foundation. We filed for our 501c3 status. What we're aiming to do there is a few things. One, that is going to be the entity that funds all of our scholarships for our players. But also, and I think...
Wait, the scholarships above and beyond the $150,000 that
Correct.
they make?
Correct.
Okay.
And so one of the other important elements that I think is often overlooked in the current college system is, so you can develop athletes, in my opinion, student athletes in 3 different ways. You have the athletic development, which is obvious. You have the academic and business development, which is what they should be getting in their classes. But then you also have the personal life skills development. And oftentimes that side of things gets overlooked. Guys don't get media training, financial literacy. Basically what happens is you go from being a family living below the poverty line, playing a year for Duke, to having a Brinks truck backed up in your front yard and told best of luck. And that is what ends up causing a lot of the issues in terms of players and their financial situations.
Well, let's also say, well, the Brinks truck is going to back up, but $100,000 sounds like an awful lot to a 19-year-old.
Right.
In the real world, it's not that much, so you got to be careful with that.
Right. So part of what we're trying to do through the foundation is develop our own programming. We're going to have a course that our players are going to be able to walk through, have access to professionals, not just in the basketball community, but in the banking community, in the finance community, tax specialists, financial planners, so that they can better understand how to take this money and use it. We don't want to be overly patronizing, but we also don't want to set them up for failure in the way that a lot of them are currently. And so we're actually going to be unveiling a pilot version of that program in the next month or two for current NCAA players, because we think that the universities are not currently providing that to them.
Let's go to Dave, who's in Akron. Dave, good evening. Ricky Volante is with us. Go ahead.
Hey, Les. Hi, Rick. How are you?
Good.
Hey, now, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I got to tell you, you have one variable you haven't addressed, and that is this. You got a $13 billion empire. You're talking about stealing 144 of their best players. What if they start paying the players in the NCAA?
That's a great question. So, one, I can tell you that having worked with a number of these universities, even if we are successful, they truly do not want to pay these players.
Wait, hold on, Dave, hold on. We lost him, but go ahead.
Yeah, so one, yeah, absolutely. There is the possibility the schools could pay, but there are a lot of repercussions that happen as a result of that. So number one, in a legal standpoint, there's currently a case, Alston versus NCAA. So when the NCAA approved the raising of the scholarship cap from grant and aid to cost of attendance, there was a class of student athletes that didn't get that. And so they sued for the difference and won, and the NCAA had to write a check to them for, it was approximately $208 million. The difference between cost of attendance and what we're going to offer times an entire recruiting class, we're talking in the billions of dollars. So up front, the NCAA would face a lawsuit of athletes that come after them for having limited their compensation to cost of attendance.
Let me just go back to something you said earlier about training the players and not necessarily just basketball, but the other day-to-day living kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to control that? I mean, is it, how are you going to control it?
Yeah.
That's
so,
enough.
The main way is that, again, it's all going to be tied to the employment in the league. So, I mean, we're not trying to hide behind a student-athlete terminology.
No, most of us laymen out here think that it should be done by the guy's agent, by the player's agent.
Right. And the problem, though, for at least the college players is that you don't get access to an agent until you're already in the league.
Correct.
And then by the time you're in the league,
you're playing basketball.
You're playing basketball, yeah. I mean, and the agents can only do so much. You know, I on the legal side of things, work both with athletes and with agents. And oftentimes, everybody kind of gets a bad reputation on that side. Most people have best intentions at heart. But the fact of the matter is again, they're just not given a good understanding. What you and I might take for granted, like just opening a checking account and balancing a checkbook.
They don't know how to do it.
No one's ever sat down with them and showed them how to do those things.
We're going to take one more break and then come back. If you have a question for Ricky, feel free to do that right now. Northfield Park is your home for live and simulcast racing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as well as Saturday. 6 p.m. is the post time, and they're open every day for simulcast action from the top thoroughbred and harness tracks all around the world. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. We'll come back one more time. More Sports and Les Levine is seen exclusively on cleveland.com.
When my dad started Naturestone, he created a solution for age-old concrete problems: unevenness, cracking, pitting, and more. Naturestone solves all of these problems in garages, basements, and outdoor spaces. Naturestone is beautiful, environmentally friendly, and affordable. Plus, Naturestone is backed by Russell's Promise, our true unconditional warranty.
Call or go to naturestone.com to schedule your free in-home estimate today and get up to 50% off.
Naturestone, the only concrete solution.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
More Sports and Les Levine is now available on cleveland.com. To watch, type in cleveland.com/sports into your browser, then click on the More Sports and Les Levine icon, and the self-proclaimed voice of truth and reason is available 24/7 from any computer. You can watch live from 6 to 7 Monday through Friday, or catch taped editions anytime on cleveland.com. Tomorrow night, the D-Man, Dennis Maniloff of the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com will join us. We haven't had a chance to talk to him since the new head coach was named of the Cleveland Browns, so we'll talk a lot about that tomorrow. And you can follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/More Sports and Les Levine, with new content posted each and every day. Speaking of adding players, the Cavs added Cameron Payne. Larry Drew, the coach of the Cavs, had this to say about him.
Well, I tell you, I didn't know a whole lot about Cam, but just from just again watching him from afar. But he has really surprised me. There's some things about his game that I didn't know that he had. He is I see he's a tremendous competitor. He doesn't shy away. He doesn't back down from the competition. He's not afraid to take the shot. I heard he likes to get it up, but listen, the guy comes in here under certain conditions. I want to see their best side of him. That's who he is. But he's done a really good job. He's picked things up very quickly too, which is a big plus. But I'm really pleased with how he's been playing.
There you go. There's Larry Drew talking about Cameron Payne. I like that. He said, I didn't know much about him. He told me what he can do. I could tell him I could slam dunk. I don't think that'll happen. But in his first 4 games, averaging almost 9 points a game, almost 3 assists, and 50% field goal shooting, 40% from three-point range. So he's making an impact immediately. And the Cavs play tonight against Portland after that win over the Los Angeles Lakers the other night without, of course, LeBron James. Ricky Volante is with us, and you're going to be hearing more about him in the next couple of years. We only had an hour to talk about it. What did we miss, and what did you want to repeat?
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, what we're just trying to accomplish is create an equitable and fair system for the players. There really is no other profession other than professional or college athletes that we require this charade of amateurism. You can be an actor getting paid while you're in college in acting school, and nobody looks at it twice. Yeah. So in our opinion, like I said, we're trying to fix something that right now is inequitable, and at the same time trying to create a really great product for the fans, for the coaches, for sponsors, for the players, so that hopefully college sports can be reimagined in the U.S.
And once again, once one of the players takes $1, he's done as far as the NCAA is concerned.
That is
correct. And everybody knows that up front.
Correct. And we are going to be very clear with that throughout the entire recruiting process. We don't want to jeopardize eligibility.
Okay, you're looking 12-man rosters and to start 2020 in the summer. So if it's how long? You said 24 games. So how far does that take you into the summer or fall?
Right. So the games will tip off just shortly after the NBA season wraps up, and then through Labor Day weekend. And
there most likely will be a Cleveland franchise.
Yes.
Terrific. Thank you for coming. Appreciate
it
very much.
Me.
Ricky Volante. I hope this thing works. We'll follow it as it goes. Dennis Maniloff tomorrow night, and we'll talk mostly Browns, I assume, and that'll be tomorrow night from 6 to 7 live right here on cleveland.com. Of all the shows I've ever done, this was the most recent.